Hey everyone, welcome to our guide on Lesale Deathbringer the Venomancer. We are PhysicsMathMan and LuminousInverse, and today we'll talk about Veno's skill build, playstyle, and item choices. Venomancer is a ranged agility support-ish hero who excels at slowing heroes, setting up pushes and counter pushes, and dealing massive amounts of damage over time. Let's take a look at his skill set. Venomous Gale is a projectile which inflicts immediate damage and deals an immense 50% slow for a whopping 15 seconds. Additionally, it ticks damage over time at the higher levels. Like a lot of Dota spells, the max range is longer than the cast range. Poison Sting, his second ability, enhances your auto attack such that it adds a movement slow and a dot. At the last level, this spell ticks for 15 seconds, slows for 14% movement, and does a total of 320 magic damage. His third ability, Plague Wards, is what makes Veno annoying. Veno is able to put a ward down in an 850 range. The Plague Ward gives vision and has an auto attack which can apply the current level of Poison Sting for 50% of its damage. This ability is great for pushes, counter pushes, jungling, scouting, canceling blink daggers, etc. Finally, his ultimate, Poison Nova, is a simple damage over time spell, which ticks for insane amounts of magic damage. It will often bring entire teams down to critical health, but keep in mind that it can never ever deliver the fatal blow. The skill build order for Venomancer varies based upon what you are trying to accomplish with him. There are generally two paths. In both cases, you want to maximize Plague Ward first, as it offers the most push and is extremely difficult for your enemies to deal with early. From there, it is really a shuffle of your other skills. Here are two example shuffles, one which is gank heavy and aims for early levels in Gale, and one which is push heavy, which utilizes the synergy between Poison Sting and Plague Ward. It isn't uncommon to hold off on your ultimate, as your small mana pool often can't sustain it early, but sometimes it is great to get as it does significant damage early. Veno's early game is both powerful and weak at the same time. When going for kills, Venomous Gale's long cast range and powerful slow is one of the most crippling spells at level 1. If your allies can dish out some extra damage, chances are whoever gets hit by the Gale is going to die. However, if Venomancer is to play like a passive support hero, his short attack range, low damage, and low health make him a liability in lane. What's more, he's kind of level dependent as a support, so if he's had a bad start, he can get stuck in a feeding spree. One common mistake that a lot of Veno players make is to spam low level Plague Wards in lane. They do almost no damage, and they are really taxing you on your low mana pool. And the worst part is that the wards are constantly feeding experience and gold to the enemy. You're better off winning the lane by forcing a kill with landing multiple hero Venomous Gales and right-clicking with Poison Sting. The success and failure of Veno's mid-game is decided by how good you are at being at the right place at the right time. Counter-ganking as Venomancer is extremely brutal for the enemy, since Gale and Nova dish out some high damage over time and also act as a strong disable. However, if you get in the fight too late, Veno lacks the burst damage to make an instantaneous impact. Also, when it comes to defending towers, you have to be there 20 seconds before the push, or else you cannot welcome them to the Great Plague Wall of China. Don't be that Veno that shows up when the tower is almost dead, and throw down one Plague Ward that basically does nothing. When you're moving through the jungle and river, get into the habit of tossing down Plague Wards ahead of your path to check for enemies, because more information is never bad. Finally, Plague Wards are a great tool for Veno in general if you're falling a little behind. Stack an Ancient Camp or two and start throwing them down. It won't be the fastest jungling experience, but you're going to make a couple hundred gold and gain a level or two. In the late game, Veno's greatest strength is to annoy the hell out of the enemy team. He's probably not going to do enough damage to get a lot of kills, but the 50% slow against enemy carries is extremely devastating. And Nova's damage over time is still fairly taxing against the supports. Blink Dagger buyers on the enemy team will hate you for throwing down Plague Wards in front of them, constantly canceling their dagger. Don't suicidally run into the middle of the fight and drop your Nova. Instead, be that support that's a thorn in their side at every turn. Your spells have amazing range, so use it to your advantage. Stay back and spam plague wards and spread that big hug of annoyance. Veno has some big problems as a hero. Two of these are that he needs a ton of mana during the mid game, and his health pool isn't exactly the best. You want a mixture of supportive and mana regen items, and so items like Arcane Boots and Mech quickly rise to the top of the list. But let's check some of our Veno games to see exactly why. In both of these games, Lumi starts with the standard support items: Wards, Tango, Salve, Clarities, and GG branches. Earth Spirit had a tough time against his Harass in lane, and Lumi went for a quick Tranquils against Jug and Sniper. Normally Veno should go Arcane for better mana regen, but Crystal Maiden helped out a lot in that situation. Because Lumi's team is made up of excellent gankers like Clock, Slark, and CM, he played to their strength and focused on vision, and tried to gank everywhere. After Force Staff, Lumi went Ags for the raw health and damage. During the late game, fights were dragging on for quite some time, which let Ag's Poison do some big AoE damage. Normally against heroes like Sniper or Earth Spirit, you'll have a hard time positioning, but since Lumi's team did a great job initiating and tanking, he pretty much stayed back and spammed wards for the win. In Game 2, the same starting items were purchased. Lumi went offensive dual lane against Troll and Ancient Apparition. Since the enemy had a lane advantage, very little came out of the laning phase. Since they were getting owned pretty hard that game, Lumi knew that he needed to counter gank and save people by having Mech. Even before Mech though, Venomous Gale's 50% slow played a huge defensive role during the mid game, much like Earthshaker's Fissure. Against fast heroes like Troll, Jug, and Lina, 50% slow is like removing 200 of their movement speed. After rounding out his item build with Arcanes to have enough mana to cast Mech and spells, he went for Ags after this. But the game ended before he was able to even finish the item. Even though Lumi was playing as a solo support for the team, the game showed how item-independent Veno can be if played properly. At his core, Venomancer is a utility hero, so he has a huge range of items to choose from. Ag Scepter and Veil of Discord are his two most damaging items, but he can definitely support with items like Earned, Vlad's, and even Scythe of Vice. My friends, as usual, here are 3 things you can take away from this guide. Number 1. Skill your abilities according to what Venomancer can do for the team. Either go gank heavy with Gale, or go push heavy with Poison Sting, but either way you're going to be maxing Plague Wards. Number 2. Spam Plague Wards once you have it maxed. Do it when you're walking around. Do it in fights. Do it 20 seconds before they push. It's low mana, low cooldown, and so annoying to deal with. Spam, spam, spam. Number 3. Make sure to squirt that annoying Gale on enemy carries. 15 seconds of 50% movement slow and damage over time often means death for them. The master of damage over time and annoying as hell, Venomancer is simply toxic to deal with. Hey guys, PhysicsMathMan here. So 6.84 is coming out next week. Here at Relax You're Fine, we're going to be doing something a little special, so make sure you like and subscribe, and stay tuned for it.